I don't know why, but I have this feeling that this month's TBR is going to be brought to you by the emotion chaos. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today I am wrapping up everything that I read from my physical TBR in February and picking out the books for my March TBR. There's also going to be a little bit of an addition in here in that I am taking part in 2 readathons this month, so I am going to try and fit all of these books into those readathon prompts, and if not, I have a couple of backup books that I really want to read. There were 4 books that came out in February. I'm going to be honest, haven't read all of them. So, the first book that came out for February was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. Officially, this one didn't come out. It was actually We'll Always Have Summer. But for me, when a book that's not the first or so in a series comes out and I haven't read the first book, I think it's probably a better idea to kind of overrule that and go back to the first book in the series. This follows Belly, who goes with her mother and brother to the area where her mother grew up for a summer vacation with one of her mother's best friends and 2 of their kids. While they're there, Belly and one of the kids, Calum or Conrad, they kind of strike up more of a relationship than they had had previously. She also gets really close with his brother Jeremiah, and there is another guy in the area who she comes really close to as well. So it kind of feels like a love square in that situation. I'm going to be honest, this was not a hit for me. I didn't love quite a lot of the terminology that was in the book. There are quite a lot of slurs and language that I'm not really comfortable with reading anymore, and that I don't think I would be comfortable with having read back when this book came out in maybe 2010-11 or so. I also didn't love this kind of big brother little sister routine that Conrad and Belly had, where when they were trying to get together in a romantic sense, it didn't make sense for me anymore because I couldn't see them as anything other than the protective big brother taking care of his little sister kind of figure. Didn't love it, but I think I will continue on with the series because I have heard that it gets slightly better as you go on. The next book from the list that I read in February was The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I went into this kind of not expecting to enjoy it because sci-fi fantasy isn't really my thing, and I wasn't really expecting to love it, but oh my god, I was so in love with this book. I think I read it in like a day and a half, which does not happen for me with sci-fi books. So this one is about Romy, who is born on a spaceship, but her parents and all of the workers on the spaceship have passed away. So she is now the only person left on that craft. She is on a journey to a planet called Earth 2 to kind of inhabit the planet and to set up a population there where everyone else that's on the spacecraft had been put into kind of a sleep situation, but since the failure, everybody has completely shut down. There's another spacecraft that's launched when she's like 16 or so to kind of go as a companion spacecraft, and it also has a person on it called Jay with whom she shares quite a lot of emails, and they keep up with what's happening on Earth. There seems to be a huge civil war across the whole planet, and pretty much all of humanity has been destroyed as far as she knows. So she keeps in touch with this guy called Jay and tries to get back in touch with NASA and see what is the situation at home. Is everything as bad as she is imagining it to be? As the book gets deeper, you kind of realize that maybe not everything is as it seems, and maybe this guy Jay is not as he seems. I had kind of figured out what was happening maybe 50 pages or so before we were actually told, but that did absolutely nothing to take away from how I enjoyed it. This is where I have to make a bit of a confession, because there was a book that came out, and as soon as it came out, I knew I wasn't going to read it in February. But I did keep it for March. So OMG Diza Aisling came out in the February TBR, and as soon as it came out, I kind of said I wanted to keep it for March because I knew the Irish Readathon was happening, and I wanted to have at least one Irish book on my TBR, regardless of whether it came out. So instead, I swapped this out for Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, read it, and utterly fell in love with it. I kind of had a feeling I would because Christina Lauren has not let me down so far. This is about Josh and Hazel, who met each other when they were back in college. It's now 10 years later and they are reunited again, and it turns out that Josh is Hazel's best friend's brother. They set each other up on these kind of really shitty double dates, all while trying to get to terms with their feelings for each other. I will say, I loved this book, but there were 2 things that I didn't love about it. One, I had a feeling that the steamy scenes would happen slightly earlier in the book. It did kind of come a little bit too late, but I was so invested in the story that didn't really make a difference. The second thing that I did not love about this book was the ending. I'm not going to give away anything about the ending, but it did feel a little bit out of character for the two of these people. I think it happened a little too far into the future for it to be a believable ending, and I don't love that kind of trope in books. I've just discovered from having read this. This is not an ending trope that I would like to read. That said though, really, really love that book. And I think that that has kind of cemented that Christina Lauren is one of my favorite romance authors at the moment. And so we come to another confession. I didn't read it at all. No, I lie. I did read like 50 pages or so. You can tell because I left my bookmark in at page 43. I could not get into it at all. I don't know what it was, because generally I really enjoy stories about cults, and that's what this is about. It is a girl called Rose and her brother called Rudder who have escaped a religious cult that they have grown up in their entire lives. And they've escaped with their mother, and now they're trying to live in the outside world and come to terms with kind of contemporary life that we would be so used to, but that's completely alien for them. That is something that I genuinely love reading about. And I have loved a couple of books about cults that I've read before. But this one just, I don't know what it was. It just did not hit the mark for me. And there was nothing in the first 50 or so pages that was hitting it for me. And when you don't get gripped within the first 50 pages, that's generally a sign that you need to go and read something else. So that is 4 books off my TBR. And that's 4 doors that I can open. So we need... Well, door 6 is there, definitely. I can see that one. And that one's going to be pretty big because the 6th of December in Germany is like a big give chocolate to kids day. So we have got a little tiny reindeer. 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7, 8. So we've got 5 and 6. 8 is here. And a piece. So from that, I have got 4 pieces of chocolate that I can eat later on. We have got the reindeer that I've shown you. And I also have a small Kinder Regal, a small Kinder Country, and a small Kinder Bueno. Now that February is dealt with, let's see what we're going to be reading for March. And Tallman wanted to pick the first book for the March TBR, so go ahead. It's like you're a claw at the amusement center. This is so weird. Okay, just one. Just one! Okay, there's one that also fell on my lap, so that's going to be the second book. Okay, you picked out, if this is awful, you're never doing this again. So he has picked out Majesty by Catherine Mcgee. That's a good one. I like that one. That is a good pick. I have wanted to read Majesty for such a long time. So his first pick was Majesty by Catherine Mcgee, as you've just seen. And that was one that I have wanted to read for a really long time. I bought this when it came out in September or October over here, and instantly put it on my TBR and then just never picked it up since. I absolutely loved American Royals, and it ended on such a cliffhanger that I genuinely cannot wait to see what happens in book 2. His second pick is About a Girl by Lindsay Kelk. About a Girl by Lindsay Kelk is the first in the About a Girl series about Tess, who takes on the persona of her best friend, I believe her name is Vanessa, and moves to Hawaii as a kind of taking over Vanessa's life and living a double life as Vanessa. When she was put in, I think she was put on assignment in Hawaii, and so Tess moves there. I also have a sample chapter of this in German, so I think what I'm going to do is read this in English and then fire up the sample chapter of it that I have on my Kindle in German and see how well can I understand the story. Final pick, and we kind of want an Irish author for this one, is Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. So March's final pick was Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. This seems pretty chunky. It's got 440 pages. This was given to me on my Amazon wishlist as a Christmas gift, and I will be honest, I know that it's a fantasy book and I haven't read and enjoyed quite a lot of fantasy, but I'm not going to let that put me off. I'm going to go into it blank slate, completely blank mind, and just read it to enjoy it. So these 4 books make up my physical TBR from March. Let me go and check how many of the prompts for the Not Safe for Workathon and for the Irish Readathon these can fit in. So obviously the only book that will fit the Irish Readathon from my physical TBR is OMG Disa Ashling by Sarah Breen and Emer McGlycett. This is, as I have said, the German translation of the first book in the series. Oh my god, what a complete Ashling. For this, it covers a prompt from the Irish Readathon in that it has a green cover. We're taking this teal as a kind of a greeny bluey cover, so it kind of sort of half fits the prompt. I'm also taking it for Genital Warts for the Not Safe for Workathon to read a book out of your comfort zone, and this is 100% out of my comfort zone in that it is written in a language I can barely speak. As for the other books that I'm going to read for the Irish Readathon, I am going to reread my copy of Savage Her Reply by Deirdre Sullivan. This is a retelling of the Irish mythological story The Children of Lear with the perspective of Aoife, who is the villain of the story, so it definitely fits into the prompt to read a book that's based on Irish mythology. But I'm also going to read it for the prompt of trichomoniasis for Not Safe for Workathon, in that you need to read a book with a title between 5 and 14 letters long. This one has bang on 14 letters, so it definitely fits in. Also for the Irish Readathon, I am going to read Good Eggs by Rebecca Hardiman. I don't know a whole lot about this book, apart from the fact that it is based on a family who live in Dunleary, which is a suburb of Dublin City. And for me, that is going to be a new author. I believe that it's actually Rebecca's debut. For the books that are on my physical TBR, what prompts of the Not Safe for Workathon do they fit into? So for Majesty, this fits into the prompt of gonorrhea, which is one that I think is going to have me clapping by the end. As I've said, I absolutely loved American Royals. It got 5 stars from me. I think it was the first 5-star book in 2020, and I have very, very high hopes that this one is also going to get top marks. For About a Girl, it kind of fits into the herpes prompt in that it's one that you've seen in multiple locations. So I saw it on my wish list for Amazon, but I also have seen it several times on Instagram, and I have seen it so many times on the I Heart Book Club by Lindsay Kelk, which is run on Facebook, and it's kind of a collection of people who enjoy Lindsay's books and talk about other books, but this one pops up quite often. Finally, Deep Light fits into 2 of the prompts for the Not Safe for Workathon. First, it fits into UTI, which is to read a book that features water in some way, either in the title or on the cover or as part of the plot. This one absolutely fits the bill because it's got a lot of water creatures in it, so I can imagine that this cover takes place under the sea. It also fits into the prompt for Syphilis, which is a book that was given to you or a book that you gave to somebody else. This one, as I have said earlier, was given to me as a Christmas present last year. That is every book that I have to read by the end of March 2021. Let's cross my fingers that I can open yet another couple of doors on my advent calendar. Have you read any of these books? And if you have, where should I start off with? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.